All right, so this is part 3 for the Unit 1 study guide. So we're just going to keep going with some of these topics from Unit 1. So the next topic would be multiplying two radicals together. So say you had the cube root of 16 times the cube root of 1/16. So you should have learned this rule where if you have the same radical, like you have cube root and cube root, you can multiply those two numbers under the cube root or rewrite it like this. So we have the cube root of 16 times 1/16. I just condensed them both under the cube root because they were both being cube rooted. Now I can simplify under the radical sign. I can actually do that multiplication. So I'm going to end up with the cube root of now 16 times 1/16. This is 16 over 1. So when I simplify that, I get 1 under the radical sign. So the cube root of 1 is 1. So this whole thing simplifies just down to 1. Let's look at another one. So if I have the cube root of 16 times the cube root of 3. So again, I can put both of them under the same cube root sign, and I'm just going to write that as 16 times 3. I just condensed those into the same cube root sign. Now I can do 16 times 3, which is 48. Now to simplify the cube root of 48, I need to break this up using a factor tree and see if there are any groups of 3 that I can pull out, because under a cube root, I need to pull out groups of 3. So 48, I know it's even, so I'm going to go 2 times 24. 24 is 2 times 12. 12 is 2 times 6. 6 is 2 times 3. So I have this down to the prime factorization. So now I'm going to look for groups of 3, which I have a group of 3 right here. So these 2's can come out of the cube root symbol, and they will come out as just a 2. And left underneath, I have a 2 times 3. Those didn't have a group of 3 to go with, so they stay under the cube root symbol as a 6. So that's as simple as you can write this problem. 2 cube root 6. Let's look at one more like that. So if I have the cube root of 16 times the cube root of 12. So same thing, I am going to put both of the 16 and the 12 under the same cube root. And then I can actually multiply 16 times 12, which is 192. So to simplify this, I'm going to have to do a factor tree for 192. So I know it's even. It's 2 times 96. 96 is 2 times 48. 48 is 2 times 24. I'm just going to keep going through that. And I am working with a cube root, so I'm looking for groups of 3 that I can pull out. So I have this group of 3 right here with some 2's, so I can pull a 2 out. I have another group of 3 2's, so I can take another 2 out. And what's left under the cube root is just 3. I can simplify this in front of the cube root. 2 times 2 is 4. So my final answer would look like 4 cube root 3. So that's how you simplify these problems where they're asking you to multiply two things that are under the same radical sign. Okay, let's do another problem. So if you had something like this, so if you had a problem like this, so you're going to use lots of different exponent properties all inside the same problem. So for me, I would first deal with these things that are inside the parentheses. I know that a square root symbol is the same as an exponent of 1/2. So I'm going to rewrite that as 8 to the 1/2 to the 4th power. And same with the 6. I'm going to write it as 6 to the 1/2 to the 4th power. And all of this is still inside the big set of parentheses. So now I'm raising a power to a power, which means I multiply those exponents together. So that's going to be 8 to the 2nd power. And 6 to the 1/2 to the 4th is going to be 6 to the 2nd power. And this is all still to the 3/2 power out there. Now I'm going to apply the property where if I have an exponent outside the parentheses, I know that that applies to both exponents inside the parentheses. So 8 to the second raised to the 3/2 power. I would multiply those exponents. 2 times 3/2 is 3. So this is 8 to the third power. 6 to the second power raised to the 3/2 power is also 3. So that's 6 to the third. So you could leave your answer like this if that's how they had it in the multiple choice. You could also just figure out what number that is. So 8 to the third power is 512. 6 to the third power is 216. And if you actually multiply those together, it's 10,592. So all three of these are different ways to write your answer. It just depends how they're asking for it or what options they give you in the multiple choice. So I'm going to stop this video and I'll make another part after this.